we'll just jump into the fantasy talk here. Okay, that's what we headline. Top fantasy questions. We sent out tweets. We sent out instant messages. We've got fantasy our own league asking us questions. Which Tyler, I don't know if we should answer those. That might be, that's helping the
we
competition.
got to.
We'll be unbiased and answer everything. So let's start it off. If you're watching, let us know what you got. Put it in the chat.
Yeah,
We're
from
gonna
here to
be
the end. It's not just going to be a full segment. And whenever we get the questions, we're going to stop with our talk and go
yep.
right to your questions. So fantasy football season's around the corner. Like you see there, we got the drafts are rolling in. You got some people who draft right now. You got some people who are actually smart and wait until either the week before or the week of the season. That way you don't have any injuries. You know who's going to be on the team. You know who's going to be playing. So definitely wait to have your drafts. But yeah, we went over the draft strategy. We pretty much went over the top 5 positions too. So I want to leave it up to the fans. We definitely have some little fans out there. So go ahead. We'll spend the next couple of minutes. And then if we missed your question, we'll get to it at the end of the show.
We've already got NASCAR Neil. First one in. He's got best move for first 2 picking 12. Oh, okay. I see what he's saying.
Oh.
Best move for round 1 and 2. He's picking 12th in a 12-man league.
Yeah, I think it's everybody always asking like what's the best position to be drafted, and I think it's either the first pick since I know that it's a long wait, but he also had the back-to-back pick, so I think that's what I like about having the 12 pick too. So I think that like we mentioned, wide receivers are going early, so. Once you get to pick number 12, I think that's whenever you get some value at the running back. So I think that Tony Pollard would definitely be up there for me. Nick Chubb. I think that if you want to start RB, I think that Tony Pollard and Nick Chubb, I think that you want either one of those two guys, but you also want to get a wide receiver. I would either go with Stephon Diggs there at number 12. I think I've seen Diggs go in that range. He's very consistent. So I think I would go with Tony Pollard, Stephon Diggs at the start of that 12 and 13. And if you start off with that, I mean, that is just an insane build to start.
Yeah, I mean, Neil, if you're in a league with a bunch of people that don't know fantasy football and Travis Kelce is sitting there at 12, which is highly unlikely. Yeah,
he's going to like top 5.
Yeah, so 7. I doubt he's even there. But I like the Tony Pollard. I mean, it's going to be his backfield. We already know the issues that Dak has. He says he's throwing under 10 interceptions. I think you have seen him throw 10 since the camp started last week. So, and then Stephon Diggs. So that's someone you typically see early, but with all these young guys kind of stepping up, I mean, Diggs is getting a little older. Yeah, he's still wide receiver 1, but Buffalo's put a few, a few pieces around him. I could see him, slip into late round 1 or
in that late range, you're either going to get like Stephon Diggs, Garrett Wilson, or Amon-Ra St. Brown. I would probably lean more towards Amon-Ra St. Brown over Garrett Wilson. I think that you could do well with either or. But like you mentioned, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, they're going to be the first 2 picks. And then after that, I would probably say that Cooper Kupp would be flying off the board next. You still have to deal with the injuries, so he might see a tumble. Maybe he goes to pick number 12 in some leagues. But you also have Tyreek Hill flying off the board. So right there, you're already going to have 4 wide receivers. I think that the next best wide receiver would be Stephon Diggs.
So I read an article before the show, and someone said for round 1, pick 1, I'm not taking Jamar Chase. I'm not taking Justin Jefferson. I'm not taking CMC. I'm taking Cooper Kupp. And I was like, I don't know about all that, considering he just got hurt.
Yeah.
Quarterback are not coming into the season. I feel like Cooper Kupp's not the safe bet that he has been in the past, and if you should take him at round 1, pick number 1.
Yeah, I definitely don't agree with that at all. I think that Cooper Kupp, don't get me wrong, whenever he's healthy and he's on the field, he is the best fantasy wide receiver, and I don't think it's very close. If you go back to 2 years ago, that was just the most insane fantasy season I've ever seen from a player. I feel like every week he was getting 20-plus fantasy points per game. And he was just a fantasy touchdown machine. Well, look at the Rams offense. The one thing going good for him, especially, if Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp is ready to go, he's definitely going to get the target share. I mean, Van Jefferson is right behind him. They got a BYU product rookie, and then you got Tyler Higbee. So there's not much competition around Cooper Kupp, but I just like other receivers around him. I think that Tyreek Hill definitely, with if Tua's healthy, he's going to be one of the elite wide receivers to get. So I think that Cooper Kupp is definitely a solid player. He is, age number 30, so I think that injuries are starting to creep up on him. So I just think that there's just better players than him, especially in the early rounds, and you just don't want to risk it with a first round pick. You want to
Right.
go a safe pick or a player of upside. I think that player like Bijan Robinson provides you more safe and upside too.
Take a rookie round one. That's interesting.
Hey,
We got
I
a we
mean,
got another question coming in from our friend over C Money AZ. Of course, he's live right now on YouTube. So if you have two screens, pull them both up. You know, don't
yeah,
don't 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 take away.
you can get
Don't leave us.
all the content on YouTube.
Yes, he's playing FIFA right now, which the women's team just lost
Yeah,
in the World Cup. Sad to
keep
see.
that in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, so made his first opponent quit and then beat the second opponent 10-3. So congrats there, Cam. His question is he's thinking of taking Jonathan Taylor with the first pick if he gets it. I think this one's a joke. I don't think that's a solid choice because I've been bitten in the ass by that choice many times, and I would not take him number one again. Tyler?
Yeah, I was a big believer. If you flash back to last season, you know it that I was very
Yeah.
high on Jonathan
Jonathan
Taylor.
Taylor was the Messiah.
I think it was just recency bias since I had him and he led me to a championship along with Cooper Cup. If Jonathan Taylor has been in the news. I mean, Josh Jacob has also been in the news. Just so many player holdouts. And Jim Irsay, the Colts owner, he's saying that he's going to keep him, but saying that he has back pain. I just don't really believe in Jonathan Taylor. And if he get on the field, look at the quarterback situation. Gardner Minshew, if he starts, he's shown some talent, but Anthony Richardson was a top 5 pick. The Colts are gonna, they're not gonna go Gardner Minshew being the starting quarterback the whole entire season. And Anthony Richardson has an elite level speed. Once the Colts get into the goal line, it's not going to be Jonathan Taylor scoring touchdowns. It's going to be Anthony Richardson. We saw it whenever he had some good games. Go flashback to that Utah game. That's whenever Anthony Richardson played at his best. And he just, every time that Florida went into the red zone, Anthony Richardson was running it with his legs. So I think that Jonathan Taylor is definitely not the safest pick. It's definitely does a lot of risk. Don't get me wrong. He's a talented player, but I'd rather guys like Bijan Robinson, who is safe, going to get you the carries. I don't care about Tyler Algier, Cordell Patterson. Bijan Robinson was a top 10 pick. The Falcons are going to use him, and I would not be shocked if he gets like so many carries that I think that injury prone, he's a 21-year-old running back. So I think that if you're going to look at a running back that late in the round, like I think that Cam, you're at the back-to-back picks. So with pick number 8, Bijan Robinson is the guy that I'm going after.
Oh, I like it. Or, if Bijan is gone, like you mentioned, Tony Pollard would also be a solid option. So, a question we've got over from Twitter, I'll read it out here. The Eye Test Fantasy Football podcast, go give them a listen. He's currently in the 11th spot of a 12-man PPR redraft league. His mock drafts have been telling him A.J. Brown or CeeDee Lamb. Which one do I go with? I'm leaning A.J. Brown because of his quarterback. No surprise, Jalen Hurts is better than Dak Prescott, in my opinion. What are our thoughts? Mine, to start with, I would go CeeDee Lamb just because he is the guy in Dallas. He's wide receiver number 1. Of course, A.J. Brown gets a lot of targets, a lot of catches, but you also have Schmitty over there, Devontae Smith, taking half of them away. And the Eagles, there's no surprise. Jalen Hurts likes to run a lot. The Eagles like to run a lot. So, but it begs the question of Dak Prescott, what kind of quarterback is he going to be? So, Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you can't go wrong with any player though, but I would go on to picking CeeDee Lamb. Like you mentioned, with Devontae Smith being there in Philadelphia, I think that there's just bigger gap in Dallas. CeeDee Lamb is going to be the number 1 overall wide receiver for them. I know that they added Brandon Cooks. he's going to be great value in the middle rounds of fantasy this year. But they got rid of Dalton Schultz, and Schultz was really one of the favorite targets for Dak Prescott. They're going to be
Dude, he
losing
was a
him. So
ball hog
yeah,
out
he
there.
definitely I feel like every game he was just balling out for them. So I think that there's some target share to be had. I think all that target share is going to be spread out to either Tony Pollard going around the backfield. Dallas loves to run a lot of screens and a lot of checkdowns with their running backs. So I think that CeeDee Lamb, he's really going to take off. I don't think that we have seen, the peak of CeeDee Lamb's career. I think that we're going to start to see that this season. But I think that if you're going to get AJ Brown, this would be an insane thing, and you probably have to do in back-to-back picks. But if you have AJ Brown, I'm going to go ahead in the next pick, take Jalen Hurts, and try to stack them up. If you get that stack, that is one of the most elite stacks, along with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and also get maybe even getting like a Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins, and then Chargers you have Austin Eckler and Justin Herbert. So that would be like my only. If you're going to go after AJ Brown, I want Jalen Hurts to get in that stack.
I like it. I like it. Stack the quarterback wide receiver duo. So I got some questions sent in by Matty Ice. He polled his work crew out there because they're all fantasy football
There
players.
we go.
Got to know they need to know who to pick. So one of them asked, "Do we see an up year for Odell Beckham Jr. and his return to the league, being on the Ravens? Is he worth a high draft pick?" I wouldn't say a high draft pick. I'd probably say a mid to late round. If he's still there, grab him because he's got a potential high upside. What do you think, Tyler?
Actually, I'm not drafting him at all this year. I think that Odell
Oh,
Beckham
no love
Jr.
for Odell.
I know that you would say otherwise. You picked this man whenever he's healthy, but he hasn't played football in quite some time. You could definitely bring up a comparison with Calvin Ridley, but Calvin Ridley's younger. Odell Beckham Jr. is now 30 years old. He's not the wide receivers. He's past his prime, in my opinion. Going to the Baltimore Ravens, there's just really no wide receivers I can trust. Rashad Bateman with his injury concerns, Zay Flowers, I think that he's going to be a year away. So the only really, if you're going after a Ravens pass catcher, the only one that I really feel safe taking is Mark Andrews. So I am passing on Odell Beckham Jr. I think that he's going, around guys that I think that are just going to get that value and that upside in the late round. Odell Beckham Jr. doesn't really give it to me anymore.
Okay, well, we have different opinions on that one, Tyler. I might even draft Odell Beckham with the number one pick in our draft. Matty Ice asked, "My dog Jimmy Graham back on the Saints. Is he back to legendary status, or is this a bust of a sign?"
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the Jimmy Graham that we saw in the Drew Brees era. I think it's still going to be the Jawan Johnson show. I do think that, Jimmy Graham, you're going to see him in formations when the Saints get into the goal line. It's going to be more goal line formations. I think that he's definitely going to get some touchdowns, but this is a guy that if you're not like real, if like in an 8, 10, or 12 team format, this is really not a guy that I'm touching. If you're like in a 14 plus team, then I would definitely look for it. I think that he's going to have some touchdown upside. I just don't think that he's going to play too much. I think that he's going to be out there whenever, like I mentioned, either in the red zone. I think that your primary tight ends on the Saints right now are Taysom Hill, if your go-to gadget player, and then Jawan Johnson. Johnson had an insane 22 campaign, I think, with Derek Carr. He's shown that he likes to throw it to the tight ends. So I think that at the very minimum, Jimmy Graham would be worth a late flyer in deeper leagues.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be used in more of a red zone package. So it's like a bye week. You need a tight end, maybe grab
Yeah.
him if he's a free agent. Last one from the work crew. Will Mixon have a standout year this year?
Yeah, definitely keep an eye on the off the field issues. He's got some off the field trouble going on, but other than that, I am drafting Joe Mixon this year with some confidence. He's the only fantasy running back last year to put up 50 plus points. He put up 55 points in that one game. I think
Yeah,
that
that was great to have him on my team at that point, wasn't
yeah,
it?
I think that with the Bengals offense, is a Bengals offense that I trust. So I'm not, like I mentioned last week, I'm not too concerned about the Joe Burrow injury. I know that Jamar Chase said, "Hey man, don't show up until week 6. We're good without you." But I think that
I
Joe
think
Burrow,
Joe will be back.
I think
That's
that
for
he's going to be
sure.
on the field in week 1. I think that's just a minimal cap strain. So I think that Joe Mixon is really overshadowed. I think that a lot of people it's like Nick Chubb. Like people don't want to draft these safe running backs, but I think that Joe Mixon's about as safe as you can get it. And they got rid of Samaje Perine, so there's not not really anybody. They drafted Chase Brown, the running back out of Illinois, but I just think that Joe Mixon, that's his offense, that's his backfield. So I would draft Mixon with confidence heading into the 2023 season.
I like it.